Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the AAS YouTube channel. And this module is going to go under the author chat series. And I'm really delighted today to have Hannah Brinkman with us. Hi, Hannah.
Hi.
How you doing today?
Good.
Good.
Yeah.
Where are you at?
For those who do not know me, I'm Hannah Brinkman. I am a PhD student in the group of Maria Lugaro at the Konkoly Observatory in Budapest, Hungary.
Ooh.
And I'm also affiliated with the University of Szeged. Yeah, I work mostly on aluminium-26 in the context of the RadioStar project.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so we're gonna get to it here. So we're gonna do a screen share here, and we will start walking through the on his paper, aluminum-26 from massive binary stars, 1 non-rotating models. So Hannah, go ahead and take it away.
So so in the greater context, aluminium-26 is one of the what we call short-lived radioactive isotopes. And then short-lived means on a galactic time scale. So it has a half-life time of 0.7 mega years, which is for earthly scales is long, but for stellar scales is short. And mostly what we do is we try to figure out where this stuff comes from, because aluminium-26, due to the relatively short half-life time, and because it decays in a very specific gamma ray, we can actually observe it. And we know where it's from, but we try to figure out how to get aluminium-26 out of the star, because it's mostly produced during hydrogen burning and later on in the explosion. But my work focuses mostly on the non-explosive yields. And in that context, we decided to revive some old research done by Brown and Langer in 1995, where they look at massive binaries and aluminium-26. And the first part is non-rotating models, because it gets too complicated otherwise.
So how much aluminum-26 is in the galaxy, roughly?
Current estimates between 2 to 3 solar masses based on the observations done by the integral instrument.
So there's about 2 or 3 solar masses, and
yeah.
And of course, aluminum-26 is important in solar systems because it is radioactive. It acts as a source of heating, so it can help determine whether one is a water world or a dry world based on how much aluminum-26 you have, and other interesting short-lived radionuclides. And so I think what's really cool about this article, I'm interjecting here.
It's fine.
People have been doing aluminum-26 from single star models for quite a while, a couple of decades, and this is one of the very first, among the very first, and certainly the latest on what is the yield of aluminum-26 from binary stars. So that's what makes this article caught my eye and said, "Whoa, we ought to chat about this." Okay, so where do you want to start from?
So as you said, people have been doing a lot of, have already looked into this a lot for the single stars. So we did do a single star study first to see whether we could compare to the data other people get. And we started out with the 2 binaries that were proposed by Brown and Langer. One is a 20 solar mass primary star plus a 18 solar mass secondary star. The other one is a 50 plus a 45. And if you can go to figure 2.
Figure 2.
Yes. Skipping the whole method.
Okay. Figure 2.
So what you can see here is all the horizontal lines are the different single star studies. And from this, you can see that for most of them, the solid blue line is our work, or my work. And that one lies pretty close to the other ones. And then the stars, those are the full binary simulations we have done. And you can actually see that the yield for those systems, especially for the 20 solar mass, which is the left panel, is about a factor of 10 higher than for a single star. If you look only at the winds, so we completely ignore the supernova part, which is not a big contribution to the galactic aluminium 26, but we are more interested in what happens before.
So can you remind me what case A and case B are?
Oh, yeah. So case A binary means that the mass transfer takes place during hydrogen burning. Case B means that it happens between hydrogen and helium burning or very early helium burning. Okay. So it's basically a distinction on when it happens in a stellar evolution.
So the blue and the cyan, so the case A and case B dots, those are your models, or those come elsewhere?
So the small dots are what we have dubbed semi-numerical binaries, where we have stripped off the envelope of a single star at the point where normally the interaction would take place. Okay. So we just faked a binary. It sounds a bit, we faked the interaction to see what was like the impact before we started to do the binary simulations fully. And that's why they are higher up than the stars, which are the full binary simulations, because they are basically the upper limit. Okay. But then on the other side, so you see for the 20 solar mass star, it has an increase. But then if you look at the other side, so there's the panel B, which is the 50 solar mass primary. Okay. Actually, what happens is that the binary systems have a lower yield. And it has to do with that these very massive stars, so 35 solar masses and up, become Wolf-Rayet stars. So they already strip off their full hydrogen envelope by themselves in a normal scenario without having the binary involved. Okay, so it's the magnitude of what your mass loss rate is. Yeah, so the rush lobe, the mass transfer rate through rush lobe overflow will be similar to the mass loss rate through winds. Cool. And that's also what we expected. It was also based on what Brown and Langer more or less predicted a while back. So yeah, so we're pretty happy with those results that they seem to agree with what is expected. And also our models seem to be, at least the single star models seem to be in good agreement with other studies that have been done with other codes as well. So yeah, which is, I think it's like in figure 3, this one, next page, I think. Yeah, so here we have only the blue dots are the single star yields from our study. And we compare it with 4 other studies from the literature, and especially in the higher mass, and they're pretty much the same. So
this is single star.
These are only the single stars, yes. Okay,
very good.
Because there are no binary studies done, except for the 2 stars of Brown and Langer, but unfortunately the period of those systems has been lost, so we cannot really compare them fully. We know their case B, but we don't know anything more about them.
Okay.
So
single stars work?
Yeah, the single stars work. And then we did we did a grid between 10 and 80 solar masses. And then in table 1, we can see the exciting results.
Let's go down to table 1.
Yes.
Maybe we'll swing back some of these. Table 1.
So in table 1, we basically summarize what we have called the binary enhancement factor, which is
Okay.
the average increase over the systems we have done in the full simulation. And then you can see that for like a 10 solar mass star, the increase is about a factor of 150 compared to the single star for a binary.
Got
and
it.
then for the 15, it's about 50. Then for 20, it's 10, and then it starts to go down until you reach the Wolf-Rayet type stars. It's 35. Then it still increases a little bit, but if you reach the really high mass stars, like 50, 60 solar masses, then the binary effect disappears.
Right.
But there are more 10 solar mass stars than 50. So altogether, this is a very, very nice result, especially because since lots of big surveys have shown that massive stars like to be together.
Yep.
They like to be in a binary or maybe a triple. So we wanted to show like, hey, this really has an effect on the evolution, and this has an effect on the nucleosynthesis yields. And yeah,
very nice.
That's very nice. Yeah, I'm very happy with the results of this. And so if we go to the top of figure 9, so this next to table, you can actually see what happened. So here we multiplied the single star yield with our binary enhancement factor.
Okay.
And so then you get the black dashed line compared to the blue line. So you can see how much it increases, especially at the lower mass part. So till like 35 solar masses, the binaries really do something for your aluminium 26 yield.
So for these binaries, it must matter what the period of the binary is, effectively what their orbital separation is.
It matters a bit, yes. But we also for, let me check. It varies a little, it varies a bit per system. As you could see in, let me quickly check the number of the, so in figure 4,
Okay.
which is a bit back.
Okay. Figure 4.
Yeah, it's a big page. Yeah, this one.
Okay.
So this is the other results, and here you can see that usually for the case A, the yield is a little bit lower, and then for the case B it goes up, and then it flattens off because the case B systems happen all very closely to each other, because the time scale is really short there. So, and they have like a stable-ish yield, so you have to look at the stars mostly. And then for some systems it starts to fluctuate a little bit because not all the simulations reach the same end stage, because sometimes we ran into reverse mass transfer where the secondary starts moving mass to the primary star, which we did not want. So the simulations did not all stop at the same instant, but.
So just, yeah, this is a function of period.
Yeah, so the x-axis is the period distribution.
Okay. Okay, yeah.
And well, and
a little bit of scatter at the higher end, but generally kind of flat with respect to period.
Yeah.
Generally. Okay. Okay. Neat.
So if we go to the appendix, which contains all the stellar evolution details, so yeah, to figure 10, this one, yeah. So here we have put all the stellar evolution details together. So on the top, So panel A and B is the single star for 20 solar masses. Then C and D belong to a system that has a period of 2.5 days, which is case A.
Okay.
And then the others belong to two case B systems, one an early case B and one a late case B. And here you can really see what the effect of the binary is on the evolution. So you already see that the star loses more mass in an earlier stage. So for the case A, so this figure D, you see that the mass starts to slowly taper off from about 6.5 mega year. Then it stops losing mass, and then it goes into a case AB, which is a case B following on a case A, to make the distinction clear, where it goes almost down vertically, the mass, and then it flattens off, and you see that there is a difference with the single star on the top panel, where it does lose mass steadily, but not as much. So and here the color scale, so the blue shading is your aluminium-26 abundance, and you really see that through the binary interaction, you start to really go into these aluminium-26 rich layers. And because we assumed in our modeling that the secondary star does not accrete any mass, all mass that is lost from this primary star goes into this interstellar medium.
Okay.
So that's the yield in this case.
Okay.
And also for the case B systems, you strip off the hydrogen envelope, you hit the aluminium-26 rich layers, and then later on you start even stripping into the top of the hydrogen depleted core, where a lot of aluminium is still residing.
Okay.
Another thing that...
Let me ask a question. So okay, I get it. So the black is the total mass. So
Yes.
follow the black lines, you can lose the mass. The blue shading is the production of aluminum-26. And what is the green striped areas, and what is the red curve?
So the green shaded area is the convective core. The blue is the overshoot area. Okay. And then the red is semi-convection. This red dotted line is the hydrogen depleted core. So basically the helium core. And then the green dotted line that pops up very far at the end is the carbon core.
Okay.
So the helium depleted core. And we stopped our simulations at the onset of carbon burning, basically because aluminium-26 gets destroyed inside the star during helium burning, which you can also see in the Kippenhahn diagrams. Yep. Slowly the blue fades to white. Yep. In the convective area, that's helium burning. So yeah, we stopped them at that point, if possible.
So what is producing the aluminum-26?
Okay, no, I should have messed this up. Proton capture on magnesium-25. It's a P-gamma reaction.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So it's, yeah. So the primordial magnesium-25 that's present in the star gets slowly turned into aluminium-26 during hydrogen burning and hydrogen shell burning, in this case.
Okay, good. Do you want to take a look at figure 11?
Yeah.
Okay.
So figure 11 shows pretty much the same as the other figure, but this is the 50 solar mass star, and top panels are again single star, and then there is a case A and a case B system. And here you can already see that a lot of the mass is already lost by the end of hydrogen burning. So this star started out at 50, but it's already 42 solar masses by the time we start plotting it.
Yep. Okay.
And you already see that the single star loses, well, almost 30 solar masses. It already starts stripping its own helium core.
Right.
While especially the case B, that's the panel F, you can see that, wait, it stops earlier. It's not losing that much mass. And also in the case A system, it's not losing as much mass as it would have if it was a single star. And also the dynamics of the mass loss changed a little bit. So
is most of the mass loss from Roche lobe overflow?
For this one, for the binaries, yes, okay. but because the mass loss through mass transfer is as fast as the wind, the difference becomes very little.
Yeah.
So the wind is, for these kind of stars, is so strong that it doesn't really matter whether it's a Roche lobe overflow phase or simple winds.
Okay.
While for the 20 solar mass star, there is definitely a difference between the wind and the mass loss through the mass transfer.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. They're binaries.
Awesome. Anything else you want to cover? Anything else you want to cover?
No, I think this is it. So, yeah, the conclusion of our paper is mostly like, don't forget about the binaries.
Very good.
They're really, really nice. I'm afraid I got infected with them, so I'm not gonna let them go anymore. And yeah, so, and because many nucleosynthesis focuses on, well, all kinds of processes happen in these massive stars, and if you forget that they might be binaries, you might forget something important. And you can already see that for the aluminium.
Cool. I noticed this paper was titled 1.
Yes.
So presumably there's a 2. So let me generalize the question. You don't have to spill the beans if number 2 is active research. But where do we go from here, given these new results on binaries? Where do we go as a field, or maybe where do you go research-wise for paper 2?
So paper 2 will be mostly focused on single stars for now. We want to push them towards the pre-supernova phase and look also at different radioisotopes. There's more than just aluminium. There's iron-60, there is calcium-41, chlorine-36, and there's some interesting non-radioisotopes we want to look at as well. So we're pushing that slowly to a full track, so not stopping at carbon burning anymore. Mm-hmm. Also, the title says non-rotating. Massive stars are known rotators.
Sure.
So that's one of the things we want to include in the next paper, to see the effect of rotation, how much does it affect the mixing, does it dredge up more material? Yes, no, maybe. What will it do? How big is the effect?
Right.
And also we might want to see the explosion and then the post-process yields for the supernova, just because we want to have consistent models. But this will be tricky. And personally, my personal goal is to get supernova yields for the binary stars.
Right. Because
they really, the Roche lobe overflow can really affect the structure of the star. So you're not, when you have a 20 solar mass star in a very close binary system, the hydrogen core actually shrinks, and the lifetime on the main sequence extends as a result. So you basically have a different star, and you lose the hydrogen envelope, so you have a low mass helium star, sort of like a solar Wolf-Rayet star, but at a lower mass, so it's pretending.
Right. No.
It's what people call stripped helium stars.
Okay. All right.
And they just behave a little bit different. And so you might not have a 20 solar mass explosion. You might have, like, very extremely set, a 15 solar mass explosion.
Right.
So I want to have consistent track of yields, but that probably is going to take longer than the rest of my PhD.
Oh, well, we'll give you something to go on your postdoc. Oh, I have a question. I should have asked earlier. What is the mass ratio of your binaries that you're doing? Are you taking Q equals 1?
We all did them at 0.9.
0.9.
Because I think what I recall is that they tend to be close-ish to 1.
Right.
But if you take 1, then the stars will do the same at the same time, and you get common envelopes. The stellar evolution code doesn't like common envelopes because the code is one-dimensional. Common envelopes are not one-dimensional.
No, they're not. Okay.
No.
Okay.
So we did 0.9 also because that was what Brown and Langer used, and that's what we started building up from there. And yes, it would be nice to do all the other mass ratios. It would be nice to look at different mass transfer efficiencies, but yeah, the parameter space is gigantic.
Yeah.
And we have to limit ourselves a little bit because otherwise never going to get results.
And where are you in your trajectory? Are you in your second year, third year? When do you graduate?
Third year. This is third year, and I have
one
paper published, 1 more paper to go, and a thesis.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, given the size of that parameter space and your interest in binaries, I don't think you'll run out of material anytime soon if you stay with that.
I made a wish list of things I want to do.
Okay.
And it was something like, okay, this could be the rest of my career.
Yeah. Binaries are quite a monster. That's awesome. Very cool. So for those who would like to get in touch with Hannah on her research or future research endeavors, you know how to reach her. It's in the APJ paper, so feel free to reach out to her and talk about binaries or aluminum-26 or short-lived radionuclides or potential postdoc positions coming up. It's all great. So everyone, I want to thank you very much for listening to Hannah chat about her paper today. Thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye. Thanks, Hannah.
Thank you.